Happy Friday, Cultural Confederates, and you know what that means? Time for another Oddly Friday News episode. If it's odd, if it's weird, strange, we'll cover it. So let's take a look at what's happening in the news. Of course, one of the big stories is Alex Pretti, this new video. I posted a video last night about this, but we'll talk about it again because now this is over at, let me see, I think it's NBC. NBC News, we do these in one take, by the way. DOJ opens a civil rights probe into Alex Pretti's fatal shooting in Minneapolis. Got some news over the BBC. We've got something going on with Iran. Let's see. Catherine O'Hara, Home Alone and Schitt's Creek actress, dead at 71. I loved her in Best in Show. If you've never seen Best in Show, that's a great movie. Go watch it. So at any rate, if you're new to the channel, no fancy graphics, nothing like that. What you see is what you get. I usually use a still shot because that's the best way to do the channel. So it's you, me, my smartphone, my voice. We talk about the news of the day, maybe history, culture, music, anything goes on the channel. So let's get to this. Where should I start? Let's go to NPR. DOJ releases trench of Epstein files, says it has met its legal obligations. As you know, I'll just randomly look at headlines that are out there. We'll talk about them. Department of Justice released more than 3 million. I thought it said 1 million. 3 million pages. Whoa! Including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images in its files tied to the death and criminal investigation of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. 3 million pages? That's worse than War and Peace. I mean, just the introduction alone of War and Peace is like what? 300 pages? But 3 million pages here? You got to be kidding me. And they still can't get to the bottom of this. My question is, the whole Epstein thing. The guy's dead. Isn't that justice enough? If he offed himself, well, good. Good for him. Catherine O'Hara, like I said, Home Alone and Schitt's Creek actress, dead at 71. That's over at the New York Times. BBC, former CNN host Don Lemon faces charges after anti-ICE protest at Minnesota church. Remember, Don Lemon went into this church with these protesters during a church service on Sunday. He's all for civil rights, you see. So he's been arrested, by the way. Former CNN host Don Lemon, as I just mentioned, Don Lemon, as I said, one-take video. So if I repeat myself, oh well. Don Lemon has been arrested and will face federal charges after he entered a Minnesota church and filmed anti-immigration enforcement protesters as they disrupted a service. By the way, I always had a problem spelling that word protester because I've seen it before as Protestor. But I guess it's spelled Protesters. You can correct me in the comment section below. Lemon, now an independent journalist because he couldn't hack it at CNN, was taken into custody by federal agents on Thursday. According to his lawyer, Abby Lowell, Don, quote, will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly. There you go. There's a word for you. Thoroughly. He's going to fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court, Lowell said. A Department of Homeland Security, DHS spokesperson, said Lemon is being charged with, quote-unquote, conspiracy to deprive rights in violation of the FACE Act by allegedly interfering in somebody's First Amendment rights by force. By the way, he's 59 years old. Still looks good for 59, if you ask me. Oh, he's just so sexy, that Don Lemon. He loves sleeping with men. Did you know that? Over at CNBC, partial government shutdown on track for Saturday. Senate may vote Friday on stalled bill. And Trump says, again over the BBC, Trump says Iran wants a deal rather than face military action. Well, here's how you deal with countries like Iran who are being bad actors. You just don't do business with them. Plain and simple. End of story. Seriously, don't do business with them. Say, hey, if you don't cut it out, no immigration to our country. We're not going to trade with you. You're cut off. That's all you have to do. Because once you cut off the money supply, it cripples their economy. That's how you handle it. So over at NBC, DOJ, as I mentioned, opens a civil rights probe into Alex Pretti's fatal shooting in Minneapolis, which is what I really want to focus on here. So let's see what it says over at good old NBC Snooze. Quote, we're looking at everything that would shed light on what happened that day and in the days and weeks leading up to what happened, according to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said Friday. Pretti, a 37-year-old intensive care unit nurse, was fatally shot by federal agents in Minneapolis on Saturday after a heated confrontation between authorities and protesters. The shooting, which came just weeks after Renee Colgood was fatally shot by a federal officer while in her car, spurred intense backlash over the Trump administration's immigration operations in Minnesota. Quote, as it says here, we're looking at everything that would shed light on what happened that day. And Pretti's family's attorney, Steve Schleicher, said in a statement to NBC News that, quote, the family's focus is on a fair and impartial investigation that examines the facts around his murder. Now, with this new video that's come out, and I mentioned this in my video last night, it's really not going to amount to a hill of beans because all that matters in a court of law is the moment that shooting occurred. So it doesn't matter that Alex Pretti was an agitator, that he kicked the taillight of this, or these ICE agents' vehicle, SUV. Doesn't matter. That he was cussing them out, spitting at them, doesn't matter. The question becomes, if he was such a threat during that first altercation, why wasn't he arrested and charged? I don't understand that. And where's the NPD in all this? I've asked that numerous times on the channel. So somebody is dropping the ball somewhere. Apparently, they have botched this thing. And I'm telling you, folks, it's not going to go well for these ICE agents or Border Patrol, whoever was involved in this. Because you disarm somebody and then you shoot them, whether they're an agitator or not, whatever the circumstances, you're going down. Because you're in violation of their Second Amendment right. Now, some people are saying, well, he went there with a gun with the intention that he was going to harm ICE officers or patrol agents. Okay, there's a possibility that that might be the case. But again, it all comes down to the shooting itself just a few moments before. And all the prosecution has to do in court is ask, well, you were an Now, this is the other thing, too. If any of those officers were involved in this first altercation and they were involved in the second altercation, that's it. Game over. Game over. But somebody raised this question with Megyn Kelly. She was interviewing, forget the guy's name, something, I'm going to say Chamberlain. He's part of the Article 2 project or something that's out there. You know, some of these projects they have out there, you know, the 1776 project, the 1619 project, all these projects. She just built a building called the 1776 project and the 1619 project. Do all your research there. But I digress. So as I was saying, she was interviewing this guy, and he said that's a legitimate, Megyn Kelly was interviewing this guy named Chamberlain, that's a legitimate concern. Why didn't these officers arrest this guy in the first incident if this was such a problem? So now you have this probe into whether or not this guy's civil rights were violated. They screwed this up big time. And this is, with the video out there, you can't recover. And I think what happened was that when they found out that social media had beat them to the punch, so to speak, or however the old saying goes, they didn't know what to do, so they tried to do damage control. They sent Kristi Noem out there with the script, with too much makeup on, in front of the cameras. He was a domestic terrorist. His intention, he brandished his weapon, and his intention was to go after these officers. Well, you got to prove that in a court of law. Even still, if you disarm the guy and then you shoot him, you're going down. That's all there is to it. So you can spend this any way you want. And the other thing that gets me is all you people out there that are taking your quote-unquote side because you're a liberal or conservative, you're a Republican or Democrat, you're full of crap. You got to stop looking at things through the eyes of being a Democrat, Republican, liberal, or conservative. You got to look at things through the eyes of common sense, what the law says, to find the answer here. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. Now, it goes on to say here, the FBI has since taken a lead on the investigation into Pretti's death, which was initially handled by the Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Patrol Protection, is also conducting an internal probe on the 2 Border Patrol agents who fired their guns during the shooting and have since been placed on administrative leave. So this is just not looking good. I don't think it's going to end well. And as I said, you can scream all you want in your different camps out there, but it's all going to come down to, in a court of law, what happened when that shooting occurred, what was the officer's intent, and you got to prove that he was in fear of his life. But if you disarm the guy, it's going to be really hard to prove that, when it comes to trial. So tell me what you think in the comment section below. That's today's episode for Oddly Friday News episode. So don't forget to follow me at Instagram, Jason197711. You can go to Substack. I have some articles on Substack. In fact, I just wrote an article on Substack, talked about this last night. Title of the article, the pretty shooting or pretty good shooting is a pretty good reason for, or the pretty shooting is a pretty good reason for a national divorce. Because I think that's where we're headed, and we shouldn't be afraid of that. If certain things work out better for California and for Minnesota compared to Florida and Georgia, let them do things the way they want. And split this whole issue of immigration. Call the Constitutional Convention, as I've been saying, and fix this. That's the only way you're going to solve this problem. And get out of your political camps, bring it all back to the states, and I guarantee you're not going to see so much division. So you all have a great Friday. I'll catch you next time. God bless, keep up the culture, and take care.